Do you aspire to become Prime Minister one day?
Well, actually, to be very honest,
In this week's episode, we bring in yet another technocrat to the table. His story saw him rise up the corporate ladder to eventually become CEO of CIMB, after which he then moved into public service as Minister of Finance during the COVID-19 period, and today he serves as the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry. Aside from that, he's also a fellow marathon runner, having ran a lot of the world's major marathons. And so in our conversation for today, pretty aptly, we're going to be looking at what it means for Malaysia to play the long game economically. What does it look like for us to know when to transition from training slow to then training fast and running fast in order to stay competitive, in order to collaborate with our other ASEAN members to become a real force to be reckoned with? So without further ado, it's a real joy to have Tengku Zafrul Aziz with us in the studio. We hope you enjoy this week's conversation. Welcome to the Game of Impossible podcast. My name is Leon and this is my dad, Idris Jala. We are a father and son podcast where we discuss all things transformation through the lens of business, leadership, sport, and faith. And it's a great pleasure to have Tengku Zafrul here with us today in the studio. Tengku Zafrul, thank you so much for being here with us.
thank you, Leon. Thank you, Idris.
Well, you know, there's a lot that we can say. We're not going to go through the whole list of accolades because we'll probably run out of time if we did. But, you know, behind all of that, we want to first understand the man himself. What's been quite fascinating, just watching you as a fellow runner as well, is some of the discipline that's required in order to play a long game. And this doesn't just translate into the training, but obviously then I think there are some patterns that we see emerge in the work that you do, both your corporate work as well as what you're doing now in government. But before you even set out to play the game, you know, I want to start to understand, where did the initial hunger to play the game begin?
Well, you talk about running. Running is something new to me. In fact, during childhood, school days, even university days, I never ran. I mean, I was involved in a lot of sports activities. So I used to play rugby. You know, I even played in the rugby league here in Selangor, and then I played hockey, football. But I never actually took running seriously.
When did you start running?
Well, for running, actually, it all started by accident. What happened was there is this charity, right? Make a Wish. It's for the young children who have critical illness. Some are in very late stages in life. So I wanted to raise money for them. And what I did was, I said, if I can complete a marathon, and at that time was Tokyo Marathon, I will match every ringgit that you all put in.
Wow.
And in fact, until today, is the highest ever collection when it comes to donation for Make-A-Wish.
Right.
So that is how it started. And I felt that, look, this is not so bad. But it also taught me about, three things at that time. One is, you know, because you start from scratch, you run as a group. Right, so this is where I met other fellow runners, and then these fellow runners happen to be, they do other marathons, they do triathlons, but they sort of inspire me that, look, you know, at that time my speed was pace. I think you were a runner, you know, pace 8 was my pace at that time, and then, but because you run together and then you plan together, so that I thought, this is something I want to do because it is like a community. Yeah.
Right.
And second one is the target, right? Because if I didn't have that target to complete marathon, or in life actually, I think you know the three, you will have a target, you work towards the target, or else. So then I felt I must continue this because it's good. So then came the next marathon, In the end, I said, I want to do all the world majors in 3 years. Right? So then it creates that discipline, because once you don't have a target, I think you all know, you become a bit directionless, and you're like, today tak payah exercise, tomorrow we exercise, you know. But now we can't. We have to have a program, and for marathon, it's a very strict program, right? And then finally, I think what I've learned is that you know how important it is through running that you need to keep healthy as well, right? You need to have a balanced life. Sometimes, younger days, you try, then you realize, look,
Enough sleep.
you must have enough sleep. So it creates, and then suddenly I realized, I'm fresh at work. I feel, and then it becomes addictive, right? If you don't run that day, you feel lethargic, which is in a perverse way weird, because usually you run, you're tired, but now you don't run, you become tired. So those are, some of the things that I've learned, and I'm sure that has an impact to many other people who are involved in sports.
It takes a certain gumption to even want to put yourself through the paces like that, whether it's through sport, some of your corporate challenges, existing challenges as well in government. I wonder, what is that thing that maybe sparked that in you?
Well, I think I'm always very open to challenges.
Right.
I think if you look at my career, I do tend to move around. And one of the reasons why I do that is because when I get bored or I feel that this job is no longer challenging, I move on, right? And I think as a child as well, that's why I try, to do different things. Even university, I changed courses, but one thing I realized about me anyway, is sometimes people can say ignorance is bliss, but I'm not afraid to fail. Right?
Very important.
Very important. That's why I say it could be ignorance. But in a way, it has helped shape me for challenges. Because sometimes when you are scared to fail, this is where you are very worried to do things that may not be comfortable.
Absolutely.
So this is something I think I've learned the hard way in life, in work. I've gone through personal issues as well. And I've gone through failures as well, many. In fact, in business, I tried to be an entrepreneur. Fail, for example, So, but I think it didn't get to me that I failed. It's like, okay, we'll pick ourselves up again. Of course, the ecosystem around you helps. Your family, your friends, and all that must be there too. Sometimes when you're down, you feel you're alone. This is where, I've been fortunate as well to have that support system.
This idea of not afraid to fail. Leon and I always talk about, we believe that people who are afraid to fail don't set big targets.
Yes.
Because they are very afraid to fail. They don't set big targets. Because they do that, they're just consigning themselves to walk the path of mediocrity.
Correct.
They become very average. They never make the best version of themselves. What's part of this idea of really going for challenging targets? Were they part of your parents pushing you to do that when you were young? Do you remember anything your dad, your mom inculcated in you, or were they the teachers that really spurred you on?
Well, when I was young, I spent a lot of time with my late grandfather. I think he was one of the mentors. He always, he'll never take no or give up. And I think spending a lot of time with him, growing up as a kid, I learned a lot about, for example, failure. And the other one, when people are scared to fail, it's not because they're scared to fail themselves. Sometimes they're scared to fail others. Right? Sometimes it's the people judging, very judgmental about people who fail. Right? And so he has always taught me, don't worry, you must believe in yourself, but you must try your best. So I've applied that ever since, and always aim for higher. And if you fall, just pick yourself up again. I think those were. I think you're right. I never thought about it that way. It actually starts early age, childhood. Then when you try to challenge that. And the people around you, it does help. One or two mentors, yes, but sometimes you have friends who that's also key. And I've been lucky, I've been fortunate in that sense. That every time I fail, of course, people will say that don't do it again. But in the end, we still do it.
You look at world champions. Listen to people like Usain Bolt. For him to run and become the champion, every time he failed, but one fine day they will hit the target. So if you are afraid to fail, then you will never become a world champion, actually.
Let's talk about your corporate career then. How did some of these things play out in your corporate life? You climbed the corporate ladder fairly quickly. So, tell us a little bit about that journey.
For me, the journey there have been ups and downs. One thing I must thank is people who had faith in me delivering. Because I give you an example. I was a CEO at the age of a listed company at the age of 26. Right? And it was a Ministry of Finance company. At the age of 26, you join this company. It's a listed company. It's a financial services company. It was a universal broker. Made up of 4 stockbroking companies. Had one of the largest asset management company as well. But it was in trouble. So they wanted someone from fresh perspective to do turnaround. I think that this year is master turnaround. So at that time, it's called Avenue Capital. And the Minister of Finance then said that they wanted to get a few people to do a few things. So I was chosen to try and do this.
Was it Tan Sri No?
Yes, it was.
That guy picked good people.
Yeah, well, I think I don't think he thought I was good at the time. I think he took a bet.
He picked a lot of good people.
Yeah, he did. But they were all better than me. But I was only 26, right? And in that company, I guess. But when you put in that position, you feel that you need to deliver for sure, right? But at the same time, how do you be a manager at that age?
Right.
Because you're surrounded by guys above 40 plus, and you're joining a company who's already in existence for a while, needs to be turned around. So what I did was, that was my first lesson on management, because you had to make tough decisions, make a brave decision, but you have to work with people that you already have and the ability to get them together, and also get new people in. That was one of the first lessons about management that I learned, and ever since then, from there, I became CEO of many other companies, and the last being, of course, CIMB, and throughout the career, it has been very challenging, to say the least, because I had to encounter many other new challenges as you embark on new companies.
As a young CEO and brought in a time of relative crisis to turn around the company, I'm sure there was probably a pushback, probably from some seniors, from some legacy members of staff. What were some of the pushback and how did you navigate that?
Yeah. Well, pushback definitely, because both of you are very well aware that people don't like change. Change management is an issue, right? First thing is to get them to understand that if you don't change, we won't survive. At that time we had Post-Malaysia, we had many other companies, so we had to sell off assets, we had to shrink down the company, etc., to turn around. So first is to get people to understand the issues, and like it or not, in a company of that size, you need to get alignment. So again, you need to get everyone aligned to the vision, and naturally there will be skeptics. First, you're new, right? And secondly, you're young. What do you know, right? So I think the first thing I did was to ensure that the current team understands the issue. I was fortunate that those who didn't support me in the end came and support, because they see that you are honest. You really have no other agenda but to save the company. And you save the company, to do the right thing also means they will also be part of the turnaround, right? So try to get everyone as involved. It's a matter of time. Some will be with you from day one. Some will be with you day 3 or day 4. But don't give up. And finally, you must be able to listen and be open about those issues that they raise. You cannot go in and say, "I know it all. I want to turn it around. You don't know anything. Listen to me." So my approach was, well, not to say consensus driven, but driven by the fact that these people, we don't blame them for what has happened. You give them a fresh perspective. We start from a blank sheet of paper. I don't care about what you did in the past, because sometimes you tend to blame them, right? So they don't like that. Yeah.
At which point do you know that it's time to step up a gear and to crack the whip?
You have to crack the whip, and that's sometimes the not fun part, because there will be detractors, but as long as you have enough support, then I think you need to make those tough decisions. Because if you don't believe in the cause, sometimes you have to tell them to part ways. I think this is where you have to have that ability or that conviction. So I did that, of course, at one point. I had to, but majority of the team understood why I had to do. And it's also important because or else others will say that, look, we can get away with it. Right? So sometimes you have to draw the line, but give them an opportunity to be part of the journey first.
So after you successfully turned that around, where did you go?
After that, I wanted to try a different path. And I met your friends, Tan Sri Nazir and Tony, Tan Sri Tony Fernandez. They wanted to do this startup called Tin Money.
That's where you went.
So I said, okay, wait first. I was still talking about, but I went to Citibank first. So I became the head of investment banking for Citibank at that time. But at that time, still talking to Tony and Tan Sri Nazir. Tony had this. To be fair, at that time was a crazy idea, I thought, going into online services. Basically, banking the unbanked, making like everyone now can fly and everyone now can do banking. And at that time was unit trust, payment, and also, fund management. But anyway, so that's where I went. After 1 year stint in Citibank at that time, I thought I'd try something different, be an entrepreneur. And unfortunately, it didn't really work out. I set it up from scratch. Then the GFC hit.
Timing was really
Timing wasn't that good. So when it comes to funding, wasn't as easy as we thought. And our expansion plan, we had to delay because of the various commitments of shareholders given that period. But in the end, it worked out. I left. I went back to financial services, and CIMB Money did on path and just focus on insurance, and it's now quite successful.
At this stage, I want to ask you a practical question. For those people who might be thinking of making a switch from playing the corporate game to going into entrepreneurship, what would you say is the one thing to maybe be very prepared for in terms of maybe a mindset shift or a different way of working? Well,
I really respect entrepreneurs after I tried to do to be entrepreneur myself. It's much more difficult than being a professional. It's two different games, right? You can do it. I think anybody can if they put their hearts to it, but they really need to make sure that perseverance is key. Right? We've seen some of the most successful business people, they failed so many times. Right? And to me, sometimes the fact that you have an alternative doesn't help. And my safety net was go back to the financial services. So I did want to try, and I did enjoy it, to be fair, initially. And then after that, when the going got tough, I couldn't sustain because, one is my shareholders also have their different focus at that time. But for me, I could have just done another business, right? Right. But I decided that, look, I think I want to go back to financial services. I enjoy it more. Right, because you must enjoy being an entrepreneur, and I'm not going to discount the possibility of going back one day, right? Because I can come one day, after politics, maybe become entrepreneur again.
The timing was awful. At the
timing
time,
was awful.
The global financial crisis.
It hit the banks, it hit entrepreneurs.
The timing was terrible.
But you must try. If you never try to be do your own business, you must try.
In my case, when I finished my tenure and I set up consultancy, it was real business. We had startup. So I told my team, we had 83 people, said we have enough money to pay our salary for 1.5 months.
Only 1.5 months?
1.5 months. If we don't have enough clients, we don't have clients to pay our salary, bungkus lah. And so we have to do everything. We almost went bankrupt during the COVID. All our contracts were cancelled or suspended. We have no revenue. And so it was extremely tough. And so I look at the team. I told them, well, let's do a democratic vote. So everybody voted. There were 3 options. Option number 1, close down the company. Option number 2, mothball the company. That means close it, reopen it after the pandemic. Option number 3, restructure it radically, and starting with me, no pay. And then the partners, 90% pay cut. And then the middle managers, 50% pay cut. And then the junior staff, 10%. So vote. 1 person, 1 vote. So I had only 1 vote. I actually voted to close down the company. But we got a lawyer to write an agreement. So we all sign it, that we accept a simple majority. If it's 51% we voted, we all go for it. So 96% voted for option 3, restructure. So we half our.
So you were outvoted.
I was outvoted. So I went for Actually, zero pay. You know,
Well, it's interesting. We have two technocrats at the table here.
no.
And as one technocrat left government to then go into the startup world, then another technocrat entered the political and public arena. So, I'm curious, what were the sort of shifts? I mean, just looking from the outside, this might be presumptuous, but from the outside, it would seem that there would probably be a big shift in terms of if, let's say, corporate, let's say banking, you were able to be a little bit more sort of numbers driven, gearing towards speed and efficiency, then surely there's probably a difference coming into the political arena where you've also got to factor in perception and sometimes to play a bit more of a slow game. I wonder, what was that shift like for you, and how did you manage that for yourself, but then for the teams and people around you as well?
Yeah. Well, for me, there's many adjustments I had to make, slightly different from your father, because one is technocrat is similar, to join the government, to join the cabinet, but then I did something more, which to join politics. So the transition is more drastic in a way, right?
Very drastic.
Initially, it wasn't the case. When I was first offered to join the government, I was like you, I was focused to help, right? There was no politics. In fact, never the intention when I first joined. And when at that time, I was saying that, look, coming from outside, I don't know whether you share the same view. We always think that the government is slow, less committed, right? This kind of thing. But then when I was there, to my pleasant surprise, a lot of them more committed than the people in the private sector.
A lot of good people.
A lot of good people. You underestimate them, and from the outside, we always hear all these stories about how good the private sector is versus the government. But I must say, the commitment, the dedication, the passion of our civil service is really underrated. And I saw it more because it was COVID. These guys, when we came up with all the various packages, within 10 days, they all slept in the office. And for the kind of compensation they get, it's all about satisfaction to them. It's not really about how much. They don't get bonus. They never get bonus, government servant. So that's where I take my hats off when it comes to the commitment, the passion, the dedication, of our civil service. Sometimes coming from private sector, we're a bit blinded by that, I must say, in our own world, in our own bubble. Right?
But you guys did a marvelous job during the
It's the team. It's all
incredible.
It's
The reason why I said that we created at that time when we had nothing to do, so we created the Global COVID Index.
Oh, okay.
It was the only index approved by WHO, that we were ranking every country in the world on how they were managing COVID on a daily basis. So we said how many deaths, how many infections, how many vaccines, how many hospital beds per 1,000 people, 10,000 people. So we had numerous discussions with Dr. Petros. So we were ranking the countries one by one. And Malaysia was consistently among the top 20. And there were many years, many months, we were in the top 10. And so you guys did a marvelous job in doing what
easy.
You moved really fast during that time.
Because it was a balance between life and livelihoods at that time,
it was really good.
To get that balance right. There's always trade-off when it comes to balancing things. Right? It wasn't easy. Don't let them to have livelihoods. We want to save life. Right. And there was no playbook.
No playbook.
Really.
But that crisis, what did it teach you actually, yourself, personally?
Well, I must say, when I first joined the government, I never thought we were going to have a lockdown. Well, I never thought that COVID was going to happen. There was a political uncertainty at that time. But for me, the lessons learned is really, you have to prepare for nearly all eventualities, right? Sometimes in our work, last time as a banker anyway, we do some scenario analysis, right? That one, all you have to throw it out the window because the kind of scenarios, worst case, would have never been in there. I don't think there was any.
Nobody had
so you have to be prepared. So he taught us that, look, when we do scenario analysis, don't look at it in a normal way anymore. Right? Got to work at the worst case. And secondly, I think for the first time, for me anyway, because I've been always looking at certain segment of society, certain industries. But then you realize that on the ground, the informal sector, the people who are not really part of that formal economy, are those who are the most affected, but actually they are also the most productive in a way, right? So this is where during that time, we took the opportunity to try and understand how our economy works, to create a lot of the support that we need to put in. We get, for example, one example is the penjaja or so we made them register. So then we actually knew how many penjaja we have. We have grant for penjaja. We get our record, the data, how important all this. We took it for granted. So we try and collect as much data. All the support we give allows us to, because you want support, you come and register. So those are the things. But the biggest lesson I learned is how actually Malaysians suddenly from any background, and we always talk about whole of nation approach, whole of government, and actually at that time the Malaysian, regardless of background, parties even, everybody came together, and it shows that Malaysia, when there is a crisis, we stick together. And I must say that when I went to the ground, because as MOF we had to help the NGOs was with us, the companies were that shows that that I'm proud to be Malaysian at that time.
Since you're talking about Malaysians banding together, now let's talk about what it's looked like for ASEAN then to band together. This has been what you've been in the thick of in the last couple of months. So tell us a little bit about that. And the reason why I ask is we had Gita, Pak Gita Wijawan here recently.
He said right there.
Gita,
and he made a comment that we're very good at meeting together as ASEAN, but beyond the ASEAN handshakes, maybe what we're not doing enough of is that we're not telling stories to one another. And as a result of that, maybe we aren't aware of as much of the nuances in terms of how we can trade a little bit better. From your perspective, what's your take on that, and what have you been doing over the last couple of months? Tell us about that.
Well, this year, of course, Malaysia, as chair of ASEAN, had to play a leadership role. So we chaired many meetings, over 600 meetings. So in that sense, Gita's right. There were many, many meetings. And for me, and the MITI, of course, we have a lot of meetings because we head of the economic pillar. There are 3 pillars in ASEAN, right? So one of the biggest pillar is the economic pillar. Well, if you look at ASEAN today, when it was formed in 1967, we've gone a long way. The question is, could we have done more in between 1967 and now? It is a complex association. Now we got 11. Timor-Leste has just joined. And every country, if you look at the GDP per capita or even the GNI per capita, it can be 80 times bigger. There are different stages of development. So it's complex in that sense. So to have one set of rules for all is not easy. So, for example, we can't be EU. You can't. No country in ASEAN is going to give up their monetary policy, right? So this is where I think ASEAN have to move at its own pace and never take for granted the fact that we have achieved peace and stability as a group. Look at what's happening in Europe, even Ukraine and Russia. What's happening, of course, in Middle East and others. But that stability has helped. And if you look at, for me, ASEAN, the principle of centrality is key, right? Where we all stick together. And principle of neutrality is also important. With the issue of Trump, we stick together. The tariff, when we stick together in terms of our view, we quickly came up with a statement against tariff, of course, any unilateral decision. But we came out strongly to support a rule-based multilateral trading system, and we came out also very strongly that we need to engage rather than retaliate. So ASEAN, I think, continues to be relevant, and you've seen it. I think you just said about the chairmanship of ASEAN. If we are not relevant, you won't see President Trump coming here. You won't see Premier Lee. You won't see the leaders of BRICS and G20, both chair of BRICS. And G20 was here, President of South Africa and President of Brazil. And of course, we have Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Korea. All the leaders were here. So it shows that they want to engage ASEAN because ASEAN is relevant, but ASEAN also promises a strong future for global peace, global economy. We have a population of close to 700 million people. GDP of $3 trillion US dollars, growing at 4 to 5%, going to be the 4th largest economy bloc. So it shows that ASEAN, there's a lot of promise in ASEAN, but we do not take it for granted. We have to work on it.
One of my critique of ASEAN is that ASEAN is very difficult to pull together as a unity group. Like, for example, in my mind, wouldn't it be a great idea if ASEAN came together and negotiated with US as a bloc for the tariff? I mean, I think it's very difficult to get them together. But I know that because when I was in government, it was also our turn.
It was 2015.
It was our turn. At that time, I was there. And we had this project called the ASEAN Pathfinder Project. So we said this, why don't we pick 3 companies from each country and then question only those companies that are interested to increase the network within ASEAN and ask them the question, what is hindering their expansion within ASEAN? And they told us what they were.
Well,
so
people mobility is one.
A lot of them were to do with non-tariff barriers.
Yes. Yeah.
But when we tried to go there and try to remove the NTB, non-tariff barriers, it's like pulling teeth.
Well, we also have fault.
Yeah, with us as well. So this is why I say that the biggest regret I think about ASEAN, I think about the tariff. If we all came together, collectively negotiating it, I think we could have done a far better job as a collective against USA. But it's missed opportunity. I know it's difficult.
It's difficult.
Difficult.
Because it's difficult is one thing, but it's also not practical because every country will want to have different things. We can see with EU.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indonesia just completed it. Vietnam and Singapore before this. Malaysia is negotiating. There's no ASEAN EU.
But you tried, you guys tried to do.
Tried to do is one thing, but US also won't want.
Of course, they don't want that because they want to negotiate one by one.
Well, they don't want also because I think they want different from different groups, and it's not practical because, for example, we might fight very hard for one thing, but the other it might not benefit the other country. So it's always difficult when it's unilateral. But if it's,
did you guys try to pull ASEAN together as a bloc, negotiating bloc, or didn't bother to do?
Well, we did talk about it,
Yeah.
and we realized that it's not going to be feasible. It's not going to be feasible, definitely. So we did what we think is feasible. One is to reaffirm our position that we still believe in free and fair trade, and multilateralism works. And we said we are in total disagreement with the unilateral measures by Trump, and the other one we agree is engage separately.
Let's talk about then the US-Malaysia tariff situation. So in terms of the reduction from 25 to 19, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Malaysia, of course, as the largest, one of the largest trading partner is with US. We were not spared. In fact, every trading partner of US got hit. Minimum was 10%. And they look at the trade surplus that we have with the US. And Malaysia had trade surplus last year about 25 billion US. In fact, it was going down. 4 years ago, it was around 40 billion US. It was narrowing. But still, we were in the top 15. For us, like I said, it's not like any other FTA where it's mutual. This is something done unilaterally too. So we felt important to engage because, again, what's going to happen to us if we don't engage and others do? We can see even China engages. EU, Japan, Korea, all the big trading partners all engage. So we had no choice. But what we wanted is to reduce that 25 and to a level that put Malaysia at the same level playing field, if not better, with our peers, especially our neighbors, where we have similar exports. And like it or not, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but for Malaysia, in this case, unfortunately, because it is our largest market. US is still our biggest export market, 200 billion ringgit of exports to US and investment as well. US, since the 80s, have invested 225 billion ringgit into Malaysia. They're the biggest investor into Malaysia, bigger than China. Even export, they are bigger. Bigger market. So we need to look at the whole ecosystem that had been built to export to the US. Thousands of jobs. Direct, indirect will be probably million. So we need to then look at how to reduce it to 19, and that's why the businesses was asking us to look at this objectively, not emotionally, but at the same time, they want certainty. So this agreement gives businesses certainty.
You know, your former colleague, Rafizi Ramli, is very critical of the trade deal. Why didn't you tell your side of the story? I mean, to rebut it, because he attacked you on a number of grounds on this one. One, he said, I am not even sure, he said, that this deal was discussed in cabinet. He was discussed in cabinet. Memang the people will put objections to it. That was one of the comment. And so the other one, he said, was many of the thing there is worse than Cambodia. This is, he said, no other ASEAN countries signed the deal. Only 2 countries have signed it. He said, Malaysia and Cambodia. In the Cambodian deal, they had quite a lot of safeguards they put relative to us. So tell me your side of the story.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Rafizi, for your concerns. Shows that he cares, which is good, right? And to me, I like to look at this constructively. I mean, politics aside, there are some points which he raised are also points others raised, to be fair, right? To be fair to him. So on the issue about the fact that approval.
The approval in the cabinet.
Yes, cabinet.
He is confident, he said, because the reason why I said nuclear.
Right.
Because he said on nuclear, we were talking to Russia, we were talking to China and exploring possibilities of nuclear deal. It is very clear in one of the clauses there that we shall not go and engage to any other party that is contrary to the US interest. On nuclear, therefore, it cannot be something that has been raised in cabinet, he said. Because in cabinet, the Minister of Foreign Affairs will object to it, and etc.
Yeah. Well, first of all, definitely this agreement went through all the ministries.
So it was discussed.
Discussed at cabinet. Right. I mean, in the team, there are all the relevant members of the team. There's the AG also, AGC also there.
Right.
But of course, in any discussion, in any FTAs that we negotiate, not all ministries will agree.
Sure.
Right? Because they will feel that they will need to protect. Even MITI, when it comes to automotive sector, we were like saying, I can't agree to that. I had to overrule some of them. I said, look, why are you worried about US cars? They're the wrong side of the road. They're not going to, because they want to protect. We're the only country that has excise duties on cars.
Sure.
Right? How do I explain that? Right? So anyway, so there will all be, some will be overruled at cabinet. I mean, that's how it's being discussed, right? And you know as well, right?
Sure.
During your time, there will be ulasan. Sure. Adalah 2-3 kementerian tak setuju.
So the point here is it was discussed lah.
It was discussed, definitely discussed. And in fact, the last approved the 24th, the signing was 26th, 24th, we had the agreement there. Approved by the cabinet. So I think I've cleared that. And the Cambodia and Malaysia, you cannot. It's not comparing apple to apple, because Cambodia, even in WTO, they get some preferential treatment. They are LDC, I mean less developed country, so they have slightly different treatment where you give a bit more leeway. Right? Malaysia is a strategic partner, and from the agreement you can see that it's a trusted and also secure supply chain partner that they've deemed Malaysia as one. And procurement, I mean, you can't expect a procurement of that size from a LDC country, right? Even LNG, I think that we've been buying from them. Not because of this, even before. It's part of energy security.
I know Tun Mahathir has been very critical of this. He said,
the Boeing.
Why do you do the Boeing? I know you've answered it in Parliament.
But you agree with me, right? I mean, something
why don't you, for the purpose of the audience, tell the story that these deals were already done prior to the tariff law. So maybe for the purpose of defending yourself.
Not defending the government. And also, I think, defending MAS, your old company, is that, for MAS, that was done in April, even March, before the Liberation Day. It was decided by their board. They want to buy 30 plus under 30. And to be fair to them, they have to. The plane fleet is like an average 14 years old, and they have to fight against Bati Air, Asia, and everything else. So regardless, they would have invested in. And similarly for other procurements, right? It's something that they have already committed, regardless of tariff. But in our negotiations, we put it in. I mean, sometimes the US will say, isn't that you agreed already? We say, yeah, but isn't your target, your focus to reduce trade deficit? So we put it into, so that strengthen your case to reduce the trade deficit. So I think that's important that we put things into perspective.
Yeah.
It's something that countries will have to invest in anyway. And the nuclear, for example, you mentioned, the agreement clearly doesn't preclude us from purchasing from nuclear infrastructure from or equipment from other countries.
Okay. Okay.
What US doesn't want, if you look at the agreement, is that we have a deal with another country that did not give them a fair chance. I think that's
Right.
Which what other countries want as well. So that's why we're saying that we will give the best deal to the country that gives us the best deal.
Okay. So it's
Including
open,
nuclear.
open,
Even
provided
nuclear,
the
even there is a
equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity. I'll give one example. Equal opportunity. Digital tax, right? So this is very clear where the Ministry of Finance can give a waiver or exemption. Any tax actually, you know that. So they want to be clear that if we give an exemption to any company, they must get it, which is, I think, fair.
Right.
The reason they ask for that is because we can give digital tax waiver without telling anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So they just want suddenly we give to another digital company and they don't know about it, which is because we're not obliged to tell them. Right?
What do you think is the biggest misconception about someone in your position right now?
I think sometimes emotions do have effect because it is the US, right? And Malaysians, many of my friends are truly disappointed in US role in Gaza, for example, right? So sometimes we feel, why are we doing a deal with someone who didn't stop the genocide? But we have to be objective, right? I mean, that's why PMC we engage. Some people even questioning why are we even engaging? Why are we welcoming him? Right? Let alone sign an agreement. Why is he allowing him to come? So there is a lot of this as well, I think, on the ground, who may not appreciate that fact that engagement is always important in this world, where Malaysia is a very open economy. We are not. We are not a country that can depend on our own domestic demand.
I think someone has the ability to accept short-term concessions in the interest of a long-term view and a long game. What do you think is the long game for Malaysia's economy?
Well, for long game for Malaysian economy, one thing we know is that we have to diversify faster than, don't be too reliant on our traditional markets, traditional partners. That's one thing. The world is changing. People are questioning how the economic order operates today. Right? I think you can see, right? People are all over the world are either moving left or to the right. The center is finding it difficult to hold ground because when you look at growth that is recorded, like Malaysia 5 or 6, other countries also similar growth. But question is now is whether the growth is inclusive, right? If it's equitable, right? These are questions which we need to answer. So that for Malaysia is going to be a challenge to ensure that the growth that we achieve reaches to as many segments of society and industries as possible, right? This is one thing that as a government you need to have. I mean, people are questioning capitalism. People are questioning economic order. So this is something that, we need to find a way. There's been crisis after crisis in the global. We mentioned GFC, before that the AFC, then many other crises came, but somehow the economic order still remains the same. And the gap is also widening. So this is something for Malaysia. I think it's important that we ensure that the growth that we achieve is a growth that is sustainable, of course, and growth that is resilient, but also growth that is equitable and growth that is inclusive.
I want to ask you a question. When you were Minister of Finance, did it ever occur to you all, wouldn't it be a great idea to reintroduce GST? Did you guys have that discussion?
Yes. Personally, I think you can ask my cabinet colleagues today. Even then, I have already stated my position. I think we really need to consider GST. But of course, Minister of Finance too, and of course Prime Minister and other cabinet members have their own view. I think some of them view this as regressive, but some of them feel that timing is an issue. They want to increase household income first because the regressive nature of GST. And also some feel that we should try and cut all the other loopholes. But I feel that we need to be ready to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
no doubt in my mind. that
yeah,
this
maybe
country-
maybe when the household income is higher, maybe that's a good point. But many economists feel that
Because if we were to have the same level of GST as all the ASEAN countries, or around
Yeah,
10%, we have so much money to do many things.
yeah, because you have to look at
Yeah.
revenue over GDP.
Yeah,
you can
right,
see we are one of the lowest now.
Yeah, it's only about 13% tax revenue as percentage of GDP.
Correct.
I was just telling everybody, take all of Africa, they are poorer than us, the continent Africa, the tax revenue percentage of GDP is 16%.
And we used to be.
Yeah.
We used to.
So if we were to just do that, we'll have a lot of money to do many things.
If we do it again,
Yeah.
we have to also learn from the mistake of the past. I
Yeah,
think
sure.
if in the GST refund and the perception of where that money goes, I think people, need to know. I mean, we're the only country in the world that has reverse GST.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But
Do you think the scope for doing it after the election? I think always, in my view, we should introduce tax immediately after the election. Then you got time to recover.
You're right. I mean, forget it for now. Forget it.
It won't happen.
Yeah, it won't happen.
Definitely won't happen.
But let's see, because the argument of many economists, because you're talking about inclusivity,
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about equitable growth, is that I think we need to ensure that people's wages go up first, also income go up, then at least this form of tax that hits all, because you can't do halfway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know there is a minimum number that you had, and you cannot give too much exemptions.
Yeah, cannot
Because
give
what
too
you
much
give,
exemption.
then might as well don't do it.
Yeah, you might as well don't. There's too much pain and
Too
then
much pain.
nothing,
Yeah.
no return.
No return.
Because I'm Saraukian, I have to ask you this question. What is your view on the Petros and Petronas issue today?
Well, that was during your time. You are a shell.
And now it's still there. Now it's still there.
Well, I think we have to respect the federal constitution, especially since the Malaysia agreement was signed in 1963, and I think both. I mean, there's two parts: there's the commercial part, there's the legal part, right?
Sure.
And in the spirit of Malaysia agreement, I think we need to honor. And I think the government, especially the Prime Minister, has shown his in good faith that his willingness to. Of course, companies also have to do their part, right? Petronas, as you know, will have their own mandate. We are part of one country. We shouldn't go to the courts on this kind of issue.
Absolutely. I don't understand why it must go to
And I
courts.
think Prime Minister has shown that he also don't want, and the cabinet also
no
shown
point.
no point. So let's look at it commercially, and I think that's where I think we have reached.
The devil is in the detail.
The devil is in the detail.
Because every time the Premier and PMX talk about it, they shake hands, they say they settle.
but then when it goes down,
then it goes down and the problem arises there.
Yes.
They got to go and work this thing out. I mean, it has to be win-win for both sides.
It
You
has to be
cannot
win-win.
make a win-lose.
If it's win-lose, it's not going to be
Yeah, it's not
sustainable.
going to work. It's not going to work. I'm quite sure they can find the solution. But they got to lock them in the room for 6 weeks and find the answers.
Because the two leaders, I think they
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah,
Sometimes, like you said, the devil's in the details.
Yeah.
And when the lawyers come,
Oh, then the problem.
it's not devil's in the words.
So that's why they've been talking for such a long time. It became a political issue as well.
The people take advantage.
Yeah,
They're now using the
Yeah,
40% issue.
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's become a real hot potato.
Yeah.
You mentioned words just now, and when it comes to effecting any reforms, I mean, it involves a few players. I mean, to be fair, you can't just park all of the responsibility on government. There is your private sector that needs to play its part as well. But objectively, there's also the rakyat as well. There's a part
civil
for us to
society
play as well. So how does one then strengthen the narrative to then get everyone to play ball collectively?
Yeah. Well, we'll live in a democracy, so we shouldn't expect everyone to agree to everything, right? I mean, we have to listen to understand what are the concerns of different parts of society, different groups, right? But at the same time, I think it's important that we don't. We analyze and I think we become paralyzed. Analysis to paralysis, right? So sometimes decision has to be made. So sometimes in a leadership position, like when you're leading the country, this government has to make a tough decision sometimes, not a populist one. And I think Prime Minister has shown a few times that we need to make those tough decisions. So to me, it's key that you listen to all, you analyze, but then come to a decision which benefit Malaysia in the longer term.
Do you have some practices on a personal level, whether it's disciplines or practices, or maybe people that you have around you that help to give you perspective and clarity sometimes, especially if it comes to the point of having to make sometimes unpopular decisions in the interest of a common good down the line?
Yeah. Well, before I became a politician, it would have been easier. Now you're a politician, sometimes you want to be popular, right? Because you want to win,
Right.
You want to win votes, right? And but I think when it comes to decision making, of course, there is a process in any role, be it CEO, minister, or even in your life, right? Whether you want to move to this career, whether you want to have another child. I mean, this is a decision making process that you need to have. But always the problem will be to make that decision itself. So for me personally, whatever decision you make, there will be again mistakes. But you must be able to. Let's say you make a decision is right. That's okay. Then you make a decision. You found that you didn't factor into ABC into the decision. That's why your decision became A instead of B. But the decision should have been B.
Yeah.
You must not be afraid to admit that you made a wrong call, right? And then move back to that B decision. And you got to be accountable. So this is where I think many times during the COVID and even now, we have like this report card. We will tell why we fail. Explain. So if you made the wrong decision, you have to explain why. But you need that transparency to be accountable, or else you can always hide. That's why that transparency sometimes work in your favor, but it can work against you. But when it get against you, at least you can explain why you failed. But you got to be accountable. And I think if you fail really badly, you have to resign or do some things. These are the things which I think we need to inculcate in our culture.
You as senator, and everybody listening out, they will know that senators have a tenure.
Yes.
And that's a fixed tenure. You can only do it two terms.
Yes.
3 years and 3 years. By the end of this year, December, your 6 years is up already.
Yeah.
What are your plans?
Well, I have politics are going to continue.
Yes,
right. So I'll do my role as a member of PKR to help politics, and I want to continue to be part of the political game in a way. But professionally, I've already spoken to Prime Minister, and I've said that I want to continue to contribute in any way I can in government.
Advisor?
That's something that I think Prime Minister has to
Most
decide.
likely that's what will happen. I can predict that's what will happen. It happened to me before.
But there's nothing in writing, and he hasn't said anything. But
If I have to bet with anybody, you will become an advisor.
One thing he has agreed is that he said that to me. I think
And on ministerial status, that's how it will work.
We'll wait and see. But I've volunteered to continue to support the government in any role I can. But it hasn't been finalized.
That is what I'm putting my bet that you'll be appointed as advisor to the government, ministerial status.
So if you win your bet, what do I get?
Dinner.
Okay.
Well, I mean, for you to stay in the game, I mean, it's not exactly a fun game, I imagine. So you got to have, we talk about this concept of a true north and a greater sense of why. I wonder what is it for you that keeps you in the game?
Yeah. First of all, why did I go into the game? Right. Yeah. Because, like I said earlier during this discussion, when I first joined as the government as Minister of Finance, the first 2 years I didn't want to do it. But then that feeling of being able to contribute, I think you felt it as well, right? It's more satisfying, more gratifying than you as a CEO of a company. Right? You feel that you can make a difference. You get the whole nation. And at that time was COVID. And unfortunately for Malaysia, it's not a presidential system. To continue to contribute, you have to have a political platform. right? To contribute at the highest level. Of course, you can contribute, join NGO or something. You can still help the government in many other ways or the country. But to be a policymaker, you need to play that role. So that's why I wanted to be in the game, because I want to continue to contribute. And the only way to do that, to contribute to Malaysia in the highest possible role, is to be in politics. Assuming that we win.
But you were very, very fortunate when you first became a minister. In recent times, very rarely did you find someone who's not the prime minister holding the portfolio of the finance minister.
Actually, you're
in
right.
recent times, you were the only guy that did it.
There's one, Ling Kuan Eng.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. So during that time, did it play a very big part in allowing you to make the right decisions during COVID?
Yeah, I think it does. But of course, again, the Prime Minister had given me full support, that Prime Minister then, and after that, the Sri Ismail Sobri as well. Now, of course, I had the pleasure of serving three.
Three now. That's true. That's right. That's true.
Three Prime Ministers. Don't ask me to compare. But yeah,
we'll be kind to you. Ask you to compare. Otherwise, I ask you to rank them.
I can rank them one. I'm just kidding. But we can go off the record that one.
Yeah.
But the why did I stay on it? Because it's rough, right? I mean, why I want to go there? But I think because it's worth it. It's worth it. But I'm already told. I mean, my family don't agree with me, okay?
Your wife.
Who's the biggest detractor?
Why definitely one.
Yep.
My mother's one.
Okay. I saw your mom at one of the events.
Oh yeah, and the civil servant.
I look like she's supportive of you actually.
Well, she has no choice
very
now.
proud of you in that role.
Because but if you advise, definitely they will say don't lah. But once good thing about the support system, I think same as your family as well. Once you decide, they support lah. But before you decide, doesn't mean they support. But once they say okay, I say okay lah, then no choice lah.
Since you don't want to rank the prime minister, well, I'm going to ask you between Maybank and CIMB lah. What is the good and the bad about the two?
Well, are you asking me between Wahid and Nazir? No,
the bank.
Okay. Just kidding. Both are your friends,
Yeah, both my friends.
So who do you rank more? Okay, anyway. So they're very different DNA. Maybank is more focused on retail. So the focus is a little bit different. The values is like about humanizing financial services. It's trying to get the SMEs and the retail depositors, but CIMB, as you know, is very much a corporate wholesale bank at that time. And now they're trying to evolve into more retail. So I think now, if you ask me, because of my exposure in government, Maybank would have suited me better.
Maybank suit you better.
I mean, but CIMB is different. They're more wholesale. So it's different DNA. So it depends what you want to do.
Which of them are more agile, move quicker? CIMB.
CIMB.
Because it's smaller lah.
I think because small, and also because of the structure of CIMB. I mean, the operating model was slightly different and
systemized.
Yes, systemized. And there are pros and cons to being agile.
Sure.
Doesn't mean it's good, right? Sometimes, the stability is important also. But if you look at banks now, they have to be ready to be disrupted.
Absolutely.
But the problem with disruption is, do you disrupt yourself or do you create another company to disrupt your...
So this is the thing.
This is the thing. And when I was in CIMB, I felt that it's too difficult to change.
Right.
You set up another company to fight the existing, but you own both.
So what do you think about Right Bank?
Well, I've seen the applications that they have. They have, I mean, both are the leader now is of course the GX, right? And Right Bank, I must say, quite impressive. The usage of AI.
Use them.
I do.
The usage of AI there is
it's quite incredible.
Incredible.
Actually.
In fact, I got friends from overseas who mentioned to me that this is amazing technology, and I know some of the banks friends. Actually, not name Bank of CIMB, but these are leadership in those banks are saying that there's no way they could have come up with it, and I think they want to buy it. But yes, very impressive. GX Bank to an extent, but Right Bank, of course, is still new. They're still waiting for numbers to as customers. But
Well, since we're talking about disruption and innovation, maybe to close, I'd love to get your insight and maybe your outlook on the next generation. And what is your approach to investing in the next generation? Whether it's with your kids or just younger Malaysians, younger entrepreneurs, younger people in business, younger policymakers even.
I think parents, of my generation, having difficulties in understanding what the children want, because technology is moving at such a fast pace and moving faster as every day, right? The usage of social media, the usage of iPad, internet, we never had that, and now we have to handle our children. And saying that we can't use it, or they can't use it, or should they use it? These are things. So to me, I think we have to go back to the core values in a very complex world today, where children are much more exposed than we ever were. And many of the social ills today is because the failure of. We cannot blame the schools, cannot blame the teachers. How many hours they spend? It's at home, because our parents, my generation anyway, are not very clear of how to handle. So I think when you come to investment or for the future, I think you need to spend a lot more time with understanding the challenges they face. Because last time, what you learned from your grandfather, you can apply. Today, what I learned from my own as a child, I can't apply. Last time you can apply the same standards of upbringing. Now it's not. So to me, when you say about investment, of course, time. And secondly, if you look at education today, I shouldn't say this because I'm part of government, but I think we need to relook.
Absolutely.
We need to relook because
the methods of teaching has to change. Radically change.
The learning, how we teach our children, we can't use the same methods that how we have. I don't know about you, you're younger, but people don't absorb the same way. And technology is used in a different way from what it used to be. It's tough. I think being a child now is much tougher than when I was a child.
The next time when you stand for election, why should people vote for Zafrul?
Why? Because he will work very hard. No, but well, for me, first of all, I hope that I be given opportunity to contest.
I'm sure you will.
Hope so. We never know, but there is the hope. And if I contest, for me, I hope people vote because they know that I will do my very best for the country and for the constituency, and also because I will do the right thing. And to me, I've decided that if I fail in the next general election, assuming I'm given the opportunity to contest, maybe I don't make the cut. I'll then not be podcaster.
Back to entrepreneurship again.
Podcaster. The entrepreneurship. Because sometimes and help in other ways. I'm not the type that I'll lose 2-3 elections once. I mean, to me, there are other ways to play a role, and entrepreneurship is definitely one.
Certainly.
What's the underlying thing that gives you then meaning, and how do you hope to inculcate that with your children?
Yeah, well, I'm not a good father because I don't spend enough time with them. I want to spend more time if possible, and unfortunately, in my role, I will never have enough time. But one thing I learned is that because I don't have enough time, you have to give not the quantity but the quality. So whenever I'm with them, I give 100%. With them, no phones, no anything. I mean, last time I remember when I was not in politics, you're there, but you're not there. You know what? If you know what I mean. So for my children, I want to spend as much time to share them, expose them, and at the same time learn from them. I've got my eldest now is already 21, right, and my youngest is only a lot of age difference, 9. So I'm enjoying the what they talk about because I learned a lot of new things also.
You can only lead as well as you learn. So what are you learning right now from your children?
My eldest think that my TikTok is crap, which I will have to talk to my social media team. Well, one thing I learned from all of them, I give you one example, and my team knows this. I tried to pick up playing guitar.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So that was during Entrepreneurship. And then suddenly I played, and my daughter all play guitar. They are good. And they said, please, Daddy, just can you not play in public?
Well, it happens with us too. When we play guitar, I said, Dad, isn't like that.
I know, because it was my mother's birthday, I think. And I said, no, I also want to play. Then they all like look at me, birthday party, on the stage. I said, no, I want to play. So in the end, I played it with my daughter and forced to make sure that.
So if you're given the chance, I'm sure the current crop of leaders, there's a time that most of them aging lah. The next crop of people like you, the young KJ and others, would you aspire to become Prime Minister one day?
Well, actually, to be very honest, I don't aspire to be a Prime Minister, but I do aspire to play a role in shaping the future Malaysia, right? It's not where I don't have a target to be there. I want to be part of the government, yes, to help. But of course, if I give an opportunity and based on merit, and that means I get the support of my team, then
opportunity is there lah.
If the opportunity is there,
it's like this guy.
But if there's not, it's not like
in history. There's President Garfield from America.
Yes, correct.
He did not want to become president. So he was campaigning for someone else to become the president. Then he made one speech. He made the speech. It was so good. Although he didn't stand for election, he actually won. And then he won. Unfortunately, somebody shot him. And so he died. I think he's probably in the job for maybe a couple of months. And so, but life is got to take its course. The destiny and sometime opportunity arise. But Malaysia at some point will need young people to step up.
And we have many. We have many young leaders. You want the best to lead.
Yeah.
That's what my hope. Whoever leads, not to be, I'm being honest here. If there's someone better, you should let them lead.
Yeah.
Well, time will tell if we see Tengku Zafrul rise to the heights of power. But for now, Tengku, thank you so much for being a part of today's conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you for not grilling me too much.
We can do a part 2. Maybe that one we're going to do a grilling session. Thank you all for listening to yet another episode of The Game of Impossible. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, we encourage you to subscribe to both our YouTube as well as Spotify. We upload episodes weekly at 6 a.m. every Friday. And we also have short form content on both our IG as well as TikTok at The Game of Impossible. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.